In a recent episode, a flickering dashboard light led me to inspect and replace the serpentine belt and the belt tensioner. They both really needed it, and it worked out fine. But there is another charging circuit component that is so easy to replace and inexpensive, you'd almost think that it could be a prize in your cereal box. It is the voltage regulator, which is located at the back of the alternator, which is actually pretty durable, but the two graphite brushes wear out, and fortunately Bosch has made this easy to replace. Now, before we start, I actually want to talk about your radio, which seems strange, except that for safety, we're going to remove the negative battery terminal. So find your radio identification card, which contains the 4-digit code that you can punch in to reactivate your radio when we're done. The new voltage regulator cost well under $30, and even though it may carry a German brand name, most of them are made in China. And whenever I install new parts, I like to look at the paper insert of instructions that come with it. Sometimes they have brand-specific tips or reminders that you don't want to overlook. So with the key out of the ignition, we're going to remove that negative battery terminal. Now the battery is in the trunk on the right-hand side behind a carpeted plastic cover. I'm going to use a 13mm combination wrench to loosen the bolt. I can then remove the terminal and tuck it safely out of the way. The 300 SL has a straight 6 engine that gives lots of working room on the side of the exhaust manifold. Now, if you really had to, you could do this parts replacement from above. I've raised the car on jack stands and removed the plastic under tray only for a better perspective for the video camera. Our new voltage regulator comes with a plastic cap to protect the spring-loaded graphite brushes. Once removed, we can see how much the old brushes have worn away. Now I'm using an alternator that I've already removed from a car to show you the sort of twisting technique that you need to install the new voltage regulator. The new brushes are tall and fragile, and so you can't push it just straight in. You have to sort of rotate it clockwise, starting at the left. 2 Phillips head screws hold the voltage regulator to the alternator. The clearance is a little too tight for a conventional screwdriver, so I'm using this number 2 Phillips bit and a small 1/4-inch drive ratchet. This voltage regulator appears to be the original equipment one from when the car was built. I'm taking my time and not applying a lot of force as I don't want to strip out the centers on these Phillips head screws. Once the 2 screws are removed, the old worn-out regulator almost falls out of its mounting hole. The brushes are so worn that the springs are ineffective, whereas the new regulator's brushes have a long life ahead of them. The 2 copper slip rings that make contact with the brushes are in surprisingly good shape. They are shiny, free of dirt and corrosion, although I'll use an eraser to clean up this springy contact tab. Let's install the new regulator by pointing the brushes at the 10 o'clock position and then using that twisting rotating motion that I showed earlier with the other alternator. Once you get the regulator in, you will have to push upward against those springs that hold the brushes in order to get the mounting holes to line up. Get both of the Phillips head screws started before you start to tighten them down. I'm going to move back and forth between the 2 screws, tightening each down snugly but not applying so much force that I might crack the plastic housing. The ratchet and the screwdriver bit make this all possible, as now there's plenty of room for both the tools and my hand between the alternator and the motor mount. And that is really all there is to it. An old worn-out part is easily replaced with a brand new one in just a few minutes. And for just a few dollars. So let's go back to the trunk. We'll reattach our negative ground terminal. Snug it down tightly with our 13mm wrench. Be sure to put the battery cover back in so things in your trunk don't slide around and short against the terminals. Remember, when you first start the car again, you may get that code message on your radio, so use your identification card to punch in the 4-digit code. So with the engine on and the dashboard lights out, it's time to take your favorite convertible out for a sunny ride.